Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel and blind reviews. So on today, on this hopefully lovely Sunday for you, I don't know, it'll be November when you see this, so I'm not sure when it will be, but hopefully it'll be lovely Sunday. I am talking about Lightlark. Oh, and by the way, this is subject to change. I'm thinking it might be coming out on a Sunday, but this is subject to change due to in case there are any changes in the in general. So this is subject to change, but I'm imagining this will be posted on a Sunday for now. So hopefully you'll see this. Anyway, on a Sunday. Anyway, I'm talking about Lightlark, and I have a lot of thoughts, which is why this video I think is a little bit longer than I originally expected it to be, but here it is. So these are my thoughts on Lightlark. I will say I gave it a lot of grace, even though I gave it mostly a bad review. Before you read, I want to give a content warning for implied child abuse, physical child abuse specifically. I do mention it, but they don't, it's not discussed as such, but it is kind of like implied. So yeah, so look out for that if you plan to read this book. I think so I think I give it a lot of grace, but I do have a review of this on my blog post where I don't give it that much grace. I do give it grace, but barely. So I have a more detailed review on my blog, and so if you want to see that, I'll link the blog post below, because I go a little bit more in detail. It's more structured. But in the meantime, before I let you go and watch the review, consider subscribing to my channel and my blog, which will also be linked in the description along with that post and along with a couple of other videos, so check it out. But consider subscribing to my channel, turning on notifications, and check out my writing and my blog. Very, very excited, especially because by this time my book should be available for pre-order. It will be released December 26, 2023. Subject to change, but my book Daughter of Death should be available for pre-order, so I will link that below if it is, and I will link it below in general. I'll link I'll link below what the stores I can find it at for you, and anything that needs to be linked. So definitely feel free to pre-order my book. It is a story about, you kind of have seen it, but the synopsis has probably been released as well. But it is about the Daughter of Death, Vivian, who is found by people in the mortal realm, and after 8 years of peace, well, she has finally been discovered, but her father, Lord Death, will not let her be taken by the mortal realm without a fight. But along the way, he realizes he's made a terrible mistake. This story focuses on family and the fact that, sometimes change is inevitable. But it has a strong focus on family, and it is a fantasy short story. So it will be available for 99 cents. So definitely consider pre-ordering and giving it a try. And let me know your thoughts, or in general, if you like. But with that, I will let you go on to see my Lightlark review. Okay, last video of my filming session. I feel like my throat hurts a little, but not too bad. And I don't want to lose my voice, so I wanted to get a bunch of these videos recorded as soon as possible, because I had a lot of filming to do and I didn't finish it before I left for vacation about a week ago. So, Lightlark, that is what we're talking about today. I do want to say, Lightlark was dragged on YouTube. Like, this book was like taken by its pages and dragged through the mud. This book has had plenty of bad reviews. And I picked it up out of curiosity because of the bad reviews. I didn't pick it up to hate read it because I don't usually hate read books. I watch hate book reviews. Like I watch reviews about people who hate books and not hate books but like hated the book or those books specifically. Like I watch reviews for bad books. I do, and I do it constantly, and that is something that I find fun, right? But I usually don't go into a book and to hate read it, because I like to go with an open mind. So I went more as more like a curious person. But this book definitely was dragged. Part of the reason that this book got a lot of attention was because this was a TikTok book. From my understanding, the author of this book, Alex Aster, basically kind of sold this book through TikTok. Like apparently there were videos where she was like, where the author was like, oh, would you want to read a book like this? And I guess they did like a TikTok and talk about the plot. Apparently there were even like lines in the book that they were like that people were upset they didn't get because they were not in the book. It was an entire controversy. I'm not gonna go into it that much. Crow wait Crow Collar? Yeah, Crow Collar did a 3 hour, almost 4 hour deep dive on this book. So if you want to look at it, I'll see if I can find it and link it below. But also Unresolved Textual Tension did a really long Lightlark Lightlark review, the podcast. So if you want to see that, I will link them for you. I'll try my best to link those below. But I'm not going to give a completely negative review. I want to say that all the reviews that I got, all the bad reviews that I got that I was able to see, those criticisms are very valid, and I think that they make sense. I gave this book a 2-star rating. But though I gave it a 2-star rating, I did not hate this book, and I enjoyed reading it. I actually read it in about 2 days. 2 days, I think. I think I read it in about 2 days. It's very easy to read. I found it easy to read, and I did enjoy parts of this book. I actually enjoyed most of this book. But I gave it 2 stars because there were things that I think could have been done better. And while I enjoyed this book, I am going to give it the rating I think it deserves. I do still have books that I have reread 1-star books like Jenna Moressi's The Savior's Champion and The Savior's Sisters. The Savior's Sister, they are 1-star books for me. Like I rated them 1 star, but I still have them on my Audible because I purchased them, and I have read them twice. And it is because those specific books hold a specific element that I like to read, and it is the kind of book I would put in the background just for fun when I don't want to be intellectually stimulated. And Lightlark falls on this area. So I do just want to preface this by saying that while I have issues with this book, I'm not going to give it I'm not necessarily going to I'm not going to spend a long time deep diving into every single issue I have with this book. I will talk about it I'll give an overview of my problems, but I don't think this book is as bad, at least as a reader. I don't find this book as bad as the reviews made it out to be, if that makes any sense. I don't find it as bad. I do think there are genuine issues. I do think there are genuine problems, and I could potentially change my rating to 1 star when I finish this book. Or maybe not. Actually, no, I don't think when I finish this review. I could, but I don't think I will necessarily. I think that these issues have a potential to be fixed in a sequel, even though a sequel has not been announced on Goodreads that I have seen. Then again, this book did get a lot of attention, although the author now has may have had a slightly bad rep because of the way what they insinuated on TikTok about themselves, and eventually I found out that the author was a very privileged person, but they insinuated that they really had nothing when they published the book, that they never it's an entire it's insane. Just, I'm not going to focus too much on that, but do know that that is a thing that happens. It is very, there's a lot of controversy regarding the author, so it's hard to say if they'll do another sequel, but if they do, I am willing to read it, and I do think it can be something that can be fixed. There is a lot to this book, and I think it's interesting in a certain way. So let's talk about the book so I can get fully into my review. Welcome to the Centennial. Every 100 years, the island of Lightlark appears to host the Centennial, a deadly game that only the rulers of 6 realms are invited to play. The invitation is a summons, a call to embrace victory and ruin, baubles and blood. The Centennial offers the 6 rulers one final chance to break the curses that have plagued their realms for centuries. Each ruler has something to hide. Each realm's curse is uniquely wicked. To destroy the curses, one ruler must die. Isla Crone is the young ruler of Wildling, a realm of temptresses cursed to kill anyone they fall in love with. They are feared and despised, and are counting on Isla to end their suffering by succeeding at the Centennial. To survive, Isla must lie, cheat, and betray, even as love complicates everything. So, I'm going to start with a compliment. The prose of this book is very good, and I will say it's very good. It's well written. It is page-turning prose, just like the pacing itself is page-turning. It has a lot of I will say, like, while it's good, there are some strange phrasing. There is strange phrasing, such as describing the island as a cliffy thing, and describing the sun as yolky, which is very interesting specifically just because she like says, how many times have I thought that the sun looked yolky and it looked like a yolk? And I'm like, wait, I'm glad that you tell me this. Like, I don't have a problem with being told stuff, but at the same time, there was no foreshadowing to this. Like, the author never describes a sunset the way Isla sees a sunset. It's never really described. So when she says, how many times have I thought the sun looked yolky? It sounds weird, and describing an island as a cliffy thing sounds even weirder. Honestly, it just does. Sounds strange. There is also there's that, like, most of the prose is good, most of it is fine. The pacing is very fast. I find it to be too fast, but for the way it is written, it's written kind of like it's written like a very fast-paced Saturday cartoon. Like, I can see this, each chapter reads episodically. I can kind of see it like a Winx Club. I can see these chapters like Winx Club episodes. A much faster version of Winx Club than what I'm used to from seasons 1 through 4. Like, I can kind of see it. It keeps you engaged. It feels like it is written in that way. Now, I had issues. Okay, I want to say this. I had this issue with Iron Widow, and I also had it with the Maid. I'll do my best to link the reviews in the description. But I did have these issues, right? The issues I had, Iron Widow, was written like a watered down adult book, and it's because it was YA, and it was written down like a watered down YA book, right? I mentioned that. While The Maid was like a middle grade book, but somehow made adult. Lightlark faces a similar problem where this YA novel feels like it would have been better as a middle grade book than YA, because a lot of the characters, just mainly Isla, which is the one we follow the most, kind of, I think, acts too much like it feels like she's kind of like not her age, whatever it is. It feels like she's a child half the time. Like the story in general feels more middle grade than young adult. I think it could work for young adult, and I think the author did their best to make it work for young adult. I think they really did. I think they did their best, and I approve of doing your best. And also, if anything, the author definitely accomplished her goal of getting Lightlark published. And I think that is a good accomplishment and that deserves some praise. So, that's my thought. So, I like the fact that it was done this way, right? I like that it was I like the fact that it was kind of what am I saying? I can't think. I like the fact that it was done this way. I enjoyed the writing style, but I think it probably would have been better more off middle grade than anything else. So, and I find the pacing to be too fast and everything. A lot of this book was written almost like a quest style book, which I like. Because I've read, for example, a lot of like Gail Carson Levine and all that stuff. So I like the quest style. I like the idea after like looking for this specific thing. And I like some of the things that came up. So I like the plot twist at the end with Celeste really being Aurora. I enjoyed. I know I just kind of made a bit of a big spoiler, but I'm not spoiling the story in general. I like that plot twist about Celeste being Aurora. It's very interesting. But Celeste comes off as a very cartoonish villain anyway. It just doesn't. She's a ridiculous character. So that is the thing. Honestly, if there were any themes that are made to be explored in this book, I miss them, because if there are any themes that the author is trying to explore, I do not think the author explored any themes, and if they did, it wasn't done well. I do want to give a content warning for the book where it kind of talks about abuse, child abuse a little. It implies it. It just does not discuss it this way. It kind of just like there's like a part where she describes where Isla describes being left to hang from a tree for like 5 hours, and she and about how she felt and how she like had screamed, and like one of the guardians was just like, we because you screamed, you get like you don't get to, you're kind of punished a bit. And one of the things that they also did was leave her in like a greenhouse, locked away from everybody, and they even like kind of bribed her with like a 1 month outing to the library, and that was like the only time she was able to get out, and they used that thing for her to do what they wanted. And so there is some abuse that is not really explored or talked about. It's kind of just lightly touched on, which I think can be done, but I don't know, it just didn't kind of touch here. Another thing I want to mention is the world building. The world building is very soft world building. I don't love it, and I also don't hate it. I actually do like soft world building. That is kind of the technique I use. I don't use very, very hard world building. I don't like building it too hard. I actually like the softer world building. So I kind of like this form of world building a little. works a little, but there is no world building. There's not a lot of world building here. So while I like soft world building, there usually, even in soft world building, there is, world building, but there isn't much world building here. You don't learn enough about. I don't feel like you learn enough about the kingdoms. I feel like there's not a lot of things to learn in this thing. So that is a thing. The characters could be fun and could be exciting in a different story. The problem with these characters is that they're not three-dimensional. Isla is not a three-dimensional character. She just is moved around a lot by the author to do as the plot demands. Celeste is a cartoonish villain who does not do just doesn't do much. She does things like it. She actually could have been a great villain, and I think I don't mind cartoonish villains, if we're being honest. I really don't. I kind of like the cartoon like villain, but her motivation and goal here, they don't feel, I don't know, they don't feel that not complex, but they don't, I just don't like the motivation here that Celeste has. It doesn't feel like they've learned much. Like, or not that, I'm sorry, not they learned much. Like it feels like she kind of achieved her motivation, only to be like, yeah, I now just want to rule the 6 realms, and as for her, it's like, yeah, you're the ancestor of a woman I hated, basically, who just like stole the person like that I loved or meant to marry or whatever. It feels shallow. It's a very shallow motivation, and usually cartoon villains have some shallow motivation, but they're usually a little bit better and it makes more sense with their character. Celeste didn't get a lot of character development, and honestly, Isla's character arc wasn't as interesting. And I want to talk about a couple of other things in a minute, including the curses, names, especially the naming conventions for the kingdoms, and stuff like that. But I will be right back. I'll be right back. For you guys, it'll be a second, but I need to do something really quickly. I'll be right back. Okay, I am back. Let's continue with, where's my fidget spinner? Okay, with the review. Since I have some things I want to mention. I have like an hour to finish because I gotta get to a call later. So, let's talk about the naming. The first thing I kind of want to talk about is the main character, Isla Crone. This is just funny. This is actually not bad. This is just funny to me. The way it's spelled is Isla. Some people have pronounced it Isla, or even, I think, either Isla or Isla. Some people just decide to pronounce it a certain way because of the way it's written. What's interesting about this spelling is that it actually spells Isla, and Isla in Spanish means island. So if you think about it in a Spanish form, her name is Island Crown, and I just found that to be funny. And this is where the cartoon-ish kind of writing feels a little bit more prevalent. Some of the names in this are, while fantastical, they also have like that something you will see in a kid's cartoon. Like, you will totally see in a kid's cartoon someone named Isla Crown. You could totally see that. I mean, I could see it. I could see a cartoon where someone's named Isla Crown. I mean, there is a cartoon I haven't watched, but apparently my brother found I know my friend has, and my brother even found the TikTok with one of their songs called Star versus the something universe. Oh, versus the forces of the universe, I think. Something like that. And this girl's name is Star Butterfly. Guys, I can see that in a kid's cartoon. This is where the cartoon writing kind of is prevalent for me. But what I really wanted to talk about when it comes to naming conventions here is the names of the kingdoms. So the 6 kingdoms are that for the most part it follows the naming convention. For the most part it follows, but then it breaks the naming convention because you have kingdoms. The six kingdoms are Moonling, Skyling, Starling, I think. Oh wait, not that one. Starling, Sunling, I think is one of them. Yeah, Sunling. Um, oh, I forgot most of them already. Oh, Wildling, and then the naming convention changes, and it is called Nightshade. And the Nightshade Kingdom, including especially Grim or Grimshaw, is kind of hated a bit. And then of course you have Lightlark, and I think I find this kind of interesting, but also there is no reason to change. If you have, I feel like if there's a naming convention, you may as well continue using it. It almost feels like the author wanted to stress that Grimm was a dark character, so she went with like that Nightshade, and in general Grimshaw was a dark character, so she went with something dark and just called him, or they went with something dark and called him Grimshaw, and called his kingdom Nightshade. It feels like a very forced way of saying, hey, look, this is a dark kingdom, this dude is dark. It feels like a very forced way to do that. You could have just gone with Nightling and it would have been fine, and just let the characters speak. But again, these characters are very one-dimensional, so their arcs and their relationships, with the exception of maybe Aro and Isla, a lot of the, well, not that much, even Aro and Isla, and even Isla and Grimm feel kind of right? So like the characters on themselves are not necessarily well developed, so a lot of it feels forced, and a lot of the story and a lot of the things that it might be trying to say don't come up the way that maybe the author intended them to. It does feel some of the stuff feels forced. A lot of the characters in general feel forced, but this naming convention was there for a reason, so I don't see the reason you should change it. Again, parts where the cartoon writing can be very prevalent with the naming conventions, like Moonling, Skyling, things like that. That feels cartoonish, and it's fun, but in a cartoon they usually keep the conventions, you know? And I think that's one of those things where it fails. And the curses is also something it fails really at, because it says that the curses are wicked, but not all of them are really that wicked curses. Like, the curses are not all that wicked. I think the worst curse comes for Wildling and Moonling. Like, I think those are definite. Those are definitely like the worst curses. But then there's also, and then that would be followed, I guess, by Nightshade and Sunling. But everything else doesn't really have that much of a giant curse. Like, and then it doesn't help that Isla is exempt from the curse. Because apparently in the beginning we believe she was born with no powers, but we find that that's not true by the end for reasons. We also have the issue where she can't like keep it. She is she's supposed to lie. Another thing in the synopsis, it's very misleading with Isla when it says she has to lie, cheat, and betray. She doesn't fully do that, and when she like kills, she feels no remorse when she kills. You see very little like her thinking back to certain things that she does that would be considered that would be probably give her some emotional toll. Like, there's nothing there that would do that. There's a lot of things that is supposed to be considered like wicked and stuff like that really doesn't happen. There's really no court intrigue. There is not a lot, I guess, of like, I guess, infighting between rulers. It's really not Centennial's really not a deadly game. A lot of it can be described as like just something for people to do, like not even a deadly game. It's just like you spend 100 days, a lot of which are of like luxury too. Like a lot of it feels like it's sitting around. There's like a lot of time skips, which is part of the reason the relationships don't always feel very well done. Is because there's a lot of time skips when we don't get to see certain things. Ooh, another thing I wanted to mention about the naming is that Isla's way to travel, and she like travels to different places, is called the Star Stick. Again, cartoon thing, but I don't like the name in the first place. So you know it's one of those things that I find myself thinking about. Anyway, so yeah, the nothing about this book is really wicked. There's no court politics. There's very little to do to like there's very little wickedness. Even the curses don't really work. They some of them work, some of them are not very wicked at all. Some of them just feel like, oh, you got cursed with this? That's not that bad. You know? It just kind of feels like that. And I don't think that's what the author intended, but that's what it reads like. Other things, interestingly, I didn't mention this in the writing, even the prose. One of the other things that sounds kind of weird too is every time that someone smiles sometimes, is like, they'll be like, oh, she smiled meanly. It reads weird. Other little things too is regarding characters is a lot of the things I wanted to mention. A lot of the reasons that these characters don't work is because a lot of the things that are in this book are kind of very stereotypical, the Cleo is the stereotypical mean girl. Grimshaw is a stereotypical dark and mysterious guy. Celeste is a stereotypical kind of girl who just wants revenge for something. Like, it's very, these characters are very stereotyped things that you'll find in like teen movies, which is not necessarily super bad, but it's also, you can also subvert these stereotypes and just don't do that. So overall, that's my review. I gave it 2 stars, but it was enjoyable to read. It has readability, at least for me. Like, there are things I enjoyed, and there are things I think could have been done better and have a lot of potential. That said, if there is a sequel, I think there could be room for more development, even more room for world building and so on and so forth. Have you read Lightlark? If you have, what are your thoughts? If you haven't, do you plan to give it a shot, even though it has gotten a bunch of bad reviews? Let me know in the comment section. Now I'm gonna go grab I'm gonna go see if we find something to eat, and or even grab some ginger tea. I have been recording for hours. I've been recording, I think, for the last 2 to 3 hours with very little break, and my throat, I think when I started it wasn't feeling bad, but I felt like maybe I was maybe getting sick. And also currently I've been talking for a while, and I have a feeling that I might regret that because I didn't take any breaks, and I filmed 7 videos in a row of different lengths. So I'm gonna go now. I'm gonna see you later. So yeah. Hello everybody, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Like I said in the beginning, I gave Lightlark a lot of grace, and I think I did the same for this, at least in I think I did give a lot of grace to this book, even though I did have a lot of issues with it. And I do go in depth in my blog post, as I said, which will be linked in the description, along with the videos I mentioned, so check that out. Consider subscribing to my channel, and turning on notifications so you're aware when I release videos, as well as consider checking out my blog. You will find book reviews, but you'll also find poetry and creative nonfiction. So check that out. And my book is available for pre-order for 99 cents. It will be released December 26th, 2023. So check that out. And let me know your thoughts in the comments. And until next time, consume stories. Bye.